And sort of this episode of the Mike on Much podcast is in partnership with Jameson. Good things come in threes. I got my headphones on from the minute I'm up to the minute I go to bed. I got my headphones on every day of my life. Gonna wear them until I'm dead. Welcome to the Mike on Much podcast. I'm your host, Mike Veerman. I'm here with my friend and trusted producer and recent birthday boy, Max Kerman. We are also here with our pop culture aficionado, Shane Cunningham, and working the dials, as per usual, although not recently because she was at a concert, is intern Erica. And how was that concert?
It was great.
Was it worth it?
Yeah, it was. Also, I just would like everyone to know we changed our recording date. Like a day or two before. We were supposed to record on the Friday, which I was available for. But
for our listeners, if you haven't heard the last episode, Erica wasn't here for the record because she was watching Dirty Nil at Phoenix here in Toronto.
Yeah, Shane grilled me a bit, but you forgot to include that part, that we changed the recording date.
I also forgot to include, if you're in this industry, you need to be nimble.
Another piece of sage advice from Shane Cunningham.
When you're watching, your boyfriend's a drummer of the Nil, Kyle. Mm-hmm. When you're watching, what's it like to sort of see like him perform? Is it like, oh yeah, that's just like my boyfriend? Like it's the same dude that I go to movies with on a Friday.
No, it's very intense.
It's different.
I feel a lot of feelings when I watch him, but I don't want to get into that.
Oh.
Are you nervous for him? Or are you just
No, it's just jealousy.
No, I get like really turned on.
Oh.
Wow.
But we'll just, yeah.
There you go.
Jesus, didn't know it was going there. Okay.
Also, but I noticed my mic stand is gone, folks.
Oh, did we lose it?
Someone stole it?
Who knows? But it's gone.
See, that's the difference between you and me, Shane. I say, oh, did we lose it? You said, did someone steal it?
You guys have different outlooks on life and humanity. You know what?
I think we'll track it down. Might
it's
be
probably
in
the other office.
Yeah.
Because I would have taken it out. Maybe I left it there on Thursday night was the last time we recorded.
Mm-hmm.
Well, since we last recorded, lots has happened. We did go to that lawyer party, or at least Max and I did. Yeah. Lovely time. And
well,
then,
I went to the Dirty Nil show. It was a great show.
And then you went to the... Oh, you were also... What did you feel seeing Kyle drum? Were you also turned on?
I was also very turned on. It's funny. It's not just you, Erica. It's me too.
But lots happened. This Saturday was our friend and trusted producer Max Kerman's birthday. Happy birthday, Max.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. You know... Mission accomplished, guys. You know, it's like, you know how last week we were saying it's like you don't want to talk about it's your own birthday, but then you want the word to get out, and then
we were talking about that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what happened.
Prophecy fulfilled.
It was awesome. Mike D, who doesn't usually man our Instagram account, usually it's Ash and I, manager Ash and I. He posted a cool picture of me playing basketball, and then my text just started flooding in. Everybody was, because it's not on my Facebook, so that's how people found out it was my birthday, and. Was my birthday Saturday? Was it actually Saturday?
I think it was the actual Saturday.
Yeah.
That's what I was told. I don't have your birth certificate.
Yeah, and then it ended up being just a crazy good day. Like, but before that picture was posted, I got a text from Nick Nurse saying like, "Happy birthday, man!" I'm like, "How did you know?" He's like, "It's all over the news." He's like, "People are talking about it." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "No." Anyway, so I was just like, I woke up to that and a few other very nice, sweet text messages from friends.
Well, what's interesting is Nick, the head coach of the Toronto Raptors. Yeah. He was being duplicitous. He wasn't. He was fibbing when he said it was all over the news.
Yeah, it definitely was not over the news. But I was thinking, it's like, maybe somebody in MLSE knows,
and fed him the information.
Yeah, that's what I assumed happened. It was like, I'm sure he interacts with maybe some of the Maple Leafs people, or just people that we know in the organization that maybe would have tipped him off.
But no part of your mind is like, oh, something's going on with Nick Nurse. Like, I'm going to be seeing him later, maybe.
Definitely not.
Because if you follow our Kells on Instagram, if you listen to this podcast, I'm sure you do, you saw that at your birthday party, Max, Nick Nurse showed up. And in fact, there was an element of surprise. And we'll get into all of this.
Yeah.
But he already knew at that point because he knew he was probably coming by that night.
Yeah. And I had zero clue.
And then when you asked him back, he had to sort of scramble. And
yeah. It was... yeah. Well... What happened on Saturday? Where did we begin? Yeah, I had a great day in Hamilton. Lauren and I went out to...
What did you think was happening Saturday for your birthday? Because behind the scenes, there was this sort of very sort of like passionate last-minute effort to sort of have an exciting night for you on Saturday.
I literally thought nothing was happening. I'm not kidding.
Me too.
Yeah.
So let's just say you weren't no one surprised. My wife was like, "You're going out again tonight?" I'm like, "Well, here's the thing. It's Max's birthday."
Well, I think all of our friends... I feel like maybe like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, like people might want to go out of their way to like throw a birthday party in the way that we would for any other Champagne boys. Like, oh, so-and-so's birthday, let's go out. But I feel like it's gone to the point where I have so many perks in my life that all the Champagne boys are like, this guy, we don't need to do anything special for this guy's birthday. This guy has a fucking birthday party every day. And which is totally true. So that was my mindset going into Saturday. I was like, none of the Hamilton guys had even texted me to see if there was anything going on in Hamilton. And I was like, okay, I guess, and everyone's got a baby in town. So I was like, okay, maybe it's just a quiet Saturday night. There's a lot of holiday parties coming up. I'm going to see everybody there. No big deal. I had a great day in Hamilton during the day with Lauren, dropped off at work. And then I came into the city just thinking like, oh, Dan and Greg are around. I'll just hang out with those guys. And like that, honestly, like small get-togethers are my favorite thing. It's like I don't need a big elaborate celebration. And Dan got into town. Dan was at the Leafs game, met your brother Greg at Dan's apartment. Dan comes home from the Leafs game. And I had thrown out a couple feelers for the Toronto guys. I was like, Mike, you around?
Yeah, you shot me. I was on my way back from Christmastown, actually, which I can talk about in a second. But I was out in the Milton area visiting a place called Christmastown with my family. Lovely time. I knew that there was a plan underway for you in the evening that involved exciting things.
But I saw on your Instagram that you're out of town. So I was like, oh, but maybe he'll be back later.
So you hit me up with when you back in town. So I knew that you were maybe feeling like doing something.
Yeah, just seeing what's going on. Our buddy Mark, who's a very sweet guy, he runs a couple bars in town. And he knew it was my birthday. So he's like, come by. I'm working at Death and Taxes. I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty good one. I messaged our buddy AJ, and I was like, AJ, are you around tonight? Because he's one of the Toronto friends. He said, oh, I'm actually at a dinner with Julia's parents. I was like, oh, and that's sort of a new relationship for him. So I was like, oh, I was actually quite happy. I was like, oh, you're meeting her parents? Oh, this is very, have fun. Like, I was just kind of excited for him. So there's just kind of a few of those text messages thrown out. But really, I didn't think it was anything more than just Dan and Greg and I, and maybe you meeting up later and us going to Death and Taxes. I hadn't really heard anything from Ash. If I think about it hard, the fact that she was so absent during like just the conversation for like what I might be doing on my birthday night, that might have given me pause to think something was going on.
Yeah.
But I'm so gullible, or I just didn't assume that like I just don't have those sort of like sensors that other people might have in this situation. And so anyway, so Dan gets home and he's like, all right, I want to get out of here. Let's go. And as we know, Dan is very antsy when it comes to getting the party started. Like he always wants to go to like 6 different bars.
He's a lot like Sammy.
He's a lot like our buddy Sammy. He's a lot like Sammy. But Greg, Dan, and I, we have a great sort of chemistry with each other, and I started talking to Greg about the new Coldplay record. I was like, Greg, do you like the new Coldplay record? He's like, dude, I love the Coldplay record. I was like, yes, me, because when Greg likes something, it makes me more excited about it because Greg's got great taste. I was like, did you see the live performance they did from Jordan to launch this new record? They played the full record front to back. They started at sunrise for the first half of the record. The second half of the record, it's sunset, and there's like these crazy panoramic shots of them performing like on this like rooftop in Jordan. I was like, have you seen this? He's like, I haven't seen it. I was like, should we watch it right now? He's like, yeah. and so I'm trying to fiddle with Dan's. I'm famously bad at technology, so I'm trying to fiddle with Dan's like controller on my phone to set up his projector in his apartment. And I'm like, Dan, can you help me? He's like, no, we got to go. I'm like, no, I'm not leaving. It's my birthday until we watch these 2 songs. So Dan's like, what the fuck, man? I want to get out of here. But I guess it's your birthday. He couldn't really like say no to me.
It'd get weird if he was if he actually demanded it.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, Dan, can you help me sort it out? He's like, no, I'm not helping you with that at all. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll sort it out for myself. So then me and Greg are like watching this. And by the way, the first song that I wanted to show Greg, Arabesque, is like a 9-minute song. It's not like a 3-minute pop song. And then the next song is great. And I'm just like, let's keep watching it. Let's keep watching. And Greg's like, and then Dan's like, no, we got to get out of here. Dan goes, Greg, call an Uber. Greg's pissed off about that. He's like, do we need to call an Uber? Can we just walk there? Greg is not, in retrospect, helping the cause at all. We get into the Uber, and it has post-Leafs traffic. So getting out of your building at that hour of the night on a Saturday, it's very congested. So Greg's kind of complaining that the Uber fare is really going to be expensive. Dan is mad that things are running behind, but all this is very natural because if you know Dan and Greg, those are the 2 most like central like components to their personality, right?
But Greg being cheap, Dan being annoyed that we're not at another bar.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's exactly it. So then,
but you can imagine the tension this is causing for Dan, who knows that there are a bunch of people waiting and timelines matter at Death and Taxes.
But it's perfect for Dan to have this role because he's always like this.
Yes.
Yeah, if it had been like Sean Dawson doing this kind of thing, or any of our
out
other
of
friends,
character, yeah,
I'd be like, that's kind of, you're acting weird. But Dan always just wants to get on with it, and so we pull up to. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so this is the part where you now arrive to the place. So maybe I'll jump in with my perspective and where things are at. So manager Ash, who we acknowledge on this podcast all the time, is the absolute best. busted her ass over like basically like a 24-hour period to sort of bring this thing together for you. So sort of like she had Dan reaching out to the Hamilton guys to see if people could show up because she wanted you to walk into Death and Taxes and be utterly shocked that all your friends were there from Hamilton, Toronto, people, whatever, and. Of course, the other element was that your friend Nick Nurse was going to be in town, and maybe he'd want to come by and say happy birthday to you.
Yeah.
So, as sort of silly and absurd and sort of surreal as that seems, he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna come by or whatever." So it seems like he's gonna come. So now we know that Nick's coming by, and so it's like, okay, this is going to be fascinating in so many ways.
We haven't talked about this, by the way. Really.
You don't know any of this.
Yeah.
No, we haven't, because I saw you on Sunday at the game, but we were like, can't talk about Saturday. Everything's for the pod. So I say to Danica, we're coming back from Milton and Christmastown. I'm like, okay, I'm going to pop over there because Manager Ash is there with Matt Fruckman, our good friend.
Yeah.
And they're sort of setting up some balloons in the corner. I'm like, I'll get there for 9:30. Max is supposed to come in for 10. Everybody's supposed to be like, hey, happy birthday. You know, everybody on your text, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing anything tonight, you know. And then you'd be hanging out. And then Nick Nurse, who's coming by, would then come in and say, hey, happy birthday.
Okay.
Because you're dancing to 9-minute fucking Coldplay songs, we start to realize. So first thing that goes wrong. So I get there. It's me, Manager Ash, Matt Fruckman. And I'm like, hey, what's up? Also, walking out of my building that night, I was nervous I was going to run into you because I knew you were at the building with my brother.
Oh, yeah.
And I was going to jump in an Uber, and I'm like, wouldn't it just be my luck if I see him in the lobby as I'm going out, which would be weird because I told you maybe I can make it out.
But you could have made up
later.
Some bullshit excuse. Like, I have to go get some diapers or something. And I'd be like, okay, cool, whatever.
And then I jump into the Uber in front of the building.
Yeah, I'd be like, my diaper place is far away.
I have a diaper guy. So I don't see you get there. And Ash is like, the hockey game went into overtime because
that's right.
Dan's at the ACC. He's at the Scotiabank Arena. So the one first thing bad that could happen would be the game going to overtime because we need Dan to trigger bringing Max to the bar, which is already earlier than it would normally sort of happen. So there's this sort of like tension where it's like, I don't know, it's like 1-1 or something, and I'm like, oh man, that's not good. But then it scores pretty quickly, and then the three of us are like, phew, okay, good. So then we're like dealing with Dan, and then so Ash
was
is
Dan
like,
texting you guys, this motherfucker won't leave the apartment?
At one point, so we thought, okay, maybe like Nick will leave his house, and we sort of, Ash was dealing with Nick's wonderful assistant Jenny, and she was like, okay, Nick is probably gonna leave at this time, you know, he has like a car set up or whatever, but and we're just like, okay, maybe he'll leave a little bit later because we know Max is delayed, and then the text comes through, oh, Nick is en route, and we're like, fuck,
This plan is going upside down.
like there's no way he's not going to get here before Max gets here. We're like, I don't know, but maybe like check in, and then so like, Dan, like where are things at? And Dan actually says, I'm trying, but they're dancing to Coldplay in the living room right now. That's what he said. And we're like, just make it happen. So then Dan's like,
Also, by the way, if Greg didn't have that like glimmer in his eye when I asked him, like, do you like the Coldplay record? And he was like, I love the Coldplay record. Like I wouldn't have insisted on watching it. All Greg would have to be like, it's cool, and then I'm like, all right, then let's keep
Did
it
Greg
moving.
know? Was he in on it?
I thought he.
I think he knew, but he just didn't
maybe
care.
he was just playing his part, or
Yeah,
I don't know what the deal was there. But I thought he knew. Mostly, I was dealing with I was in contact with Ash and Dan, and so my brother. I don't know what was going on there. If he was delaying it, maybe he was just really committed to his role of not letting you find out.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be equally as cool if when you showed up, Nick was already there?
Well, this is what it ends up sort of becoming, but it's not about. In a lot of ways, because like obviously like the bar's full of just people. No one really cares if you showed up 2 hours. You know what I mean? It's like, but Nick. It's like you don't want to waste his time. So if if Nick shows up to a bar and it's like 40 minutes till Max gets there, if you're Nick Nurse, you don't know anyone really except for Nick and maybe Ash a little bit. You know what I mean? It's just
Good point. Yeah.
It's tough for him.
Yeah, it was more about the Nick Nurse part.
Yeah, it's not really about Max's experience.
Right.
It's like this,
At that point. So anyway, the Hamilton guys show up. I see Rob Escula and Felix and Peaky come walking through the door. I'm like, man, this is like going to be so fun. But there's this real sort of tension as to when Max is going to show up. But this thing always happens when you're trying to surprise somebody. Yeah. So sure enough, it's like Nick is pulled up out front. We see the car. We're like, ah, shit. Like, and
what's
we
he
still
driving?
know your ways out. It was like a black car service sort of deal.
Yeah, Escalade.
Escalade, yeah. And so Ash goes out to get him with Mark, who'd set up the bar for Mark, and she's just like, listen, she's like, if he gets here before Max, it's like you're gonna have to like
Did Ash give you the pep talk?
Well, she's just like, are you cool to like, I'm like, yeah. I'm like, listen, we spent like 2 hours at the practice facility.
Yeah.
I'm like, and it's like, I'd love to talk to Nick.
Yeah, you were like, it is an honor to have this role.
This is like, I'm built for this.
Yeah.
Like this is my whole life has led up to this moment. I got to kill time by having a talk in a bar with the coach of my favorite fucking team.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, what a nightmare. I'm like, I hope Max keeps fucking dancing all night long.
And they've been having a good season. Yeah.
It's my time to shine. So he comes in. Ash is great. She introduced him around like the party. He kind of sees everyone. She's like, "Oh, this is Mike." You know, he's like, "Oh, hey!" Like, and he remembers me from the practice facility. He's wearing the championship ring. And he says what's up to everybody, and then somebody comes up and they're like, oh my god, like look, like they kind of point at the ring. He takes it off and just hands it right to like Peak, I think. And then everybody starts passing it around, and they're like, can you take a picture? Can you take a picture of me with the ring? But I'm kind of got Nick, and I don't really want to lose Nick, so that, and I want him to feel comfortable because he's at this bar. So anyway, the ring's getting passed around. People are taking photos with the ring. Now I'm just like, all right, let's just like chat. So I'm like just sort of like hanging with them, hoping you're going to come walking through the door. I mean, but again, we just talked about like a million things, like basketball, not basketball. Actually, the first thing I asked him, I was like, I got to break the ice, and I don't want it to be like Pascal's such a great player now, right? But anyway, so I just go, I'm like, game name tomorrow. I'm like, it's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, Nick, was it an issue to get out tonight with your wife? Because it was with mine. And then he explodes laughing. I'm like, I got a 1-year-old home that wasn't going down, but I'm here. And he's like, no. He's like, they're fine. He's like, they're already sleeping. He's like, it wasn't an issue. So it's like, you make that joke, and then we got into some other talks. Then Matt Fruchtman joined the conversation. He was great because Matt came over and just started talking about Monk.
Thelonious Monk.
Thelonious Monk.
Yeah, because my best friend, Book Club Matty, he is a big jazz fan, and he knows that Nick Nurse loves Thelonious Monk. And also, Matt was a varsity wrestler in Iowa, where Nick is from, is a big wrestling state. So I guess they
good connections.
They hit it off there. Peak also, I guess, spent a little bit of time with him because his sister Meg is an announcer with the Washington Mystics, right?
That's right.
And so
she used to be with the Raptors 905.
905. And so there's that Nick Nurse. So there's a bunch of like beautiful little small connections that made probably the conversations like very fun and real.
100%. Yeah. Like the stuff with Matt Fruchtman, like you said, even like you're saying when Peak's like, oh, my sister Meg, and you don't know if like Nick's gonna be like, Meg McPeak. He immediately was like, oh, she's in Washington now.
Oh, it's so nice.
So it's like everybody's getting along. It's going well. And then it's like there's a murmur sort of in the bar. They're like, Max is on the way. Max is on the way. I'm like, it's going down, Nick. You know, are you ready? He's like, yeah. So then we kind of naturally, and this thing happened awesome because we were sitting like on like in the booth kind of bench area. Is everybody kind of we told, I was like, Nick, you stay sitting, and everybody kind of gathers in. So like there's like almost like a wall of people, right? So Max, who honestly doesn't think anyone's gonna be at the bar, right? You think Greg and Dan are just going to have a drink?
Yeah,
that's it. You walk in, and then there's like a cobbling of sort of people who could come together in this sort of like short time, and you seemed genuinely surprised, shocked at the initial wave of shock, and then we parted the seas. So now tell it from your perspective.
Well, I just remember walking in and then kind of looking to the right and then looking to the left, and I see a bunch of very familiar faces, and everyone goes, surprise! And I scan the room, and I'm like, oh, Peak's here. Oh, your Ash is here. Matt Fruchtman is here, and Matt's a pal who I don't usually go out with much. Like, it's usually like one-on-one time. We'll go to dinner and movies and stuff like that, but he doesn't spend a ton of time with our circle of friends. He's very friendly, and you guys have been to the movies together and everything. Yeah. But I was like, this is just not the kind of thing I would assume he'd want to come to. But I was like, and Matt's here? Oh, like it was just such a random collection of so many of my favorite people. And then so I started if this is a wall of people, I start on the right, I'm looking, I'm like, whoa. And then I get to the left, and there's Nick Nurse. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I really my jaw was on the floor. It was really blew me away that everybody was there.
Did it compute in the like when you saw him? Do you immediately go into like what does your mind do? Like I gotta sort of pay more attention to him because he's not out often. He doesn't know as many people as I know here.
Yeah, I think the first thing I just thought was like, oh, like I'm gonna go right to Nick only because it's like he's clearly the one guy here that doesn't know everybody. So it's like just want to spend some time. And also I immediately assumed it's like this guy's probably got to get out of here in like 20 minutes. It was like such a nice gesture for him to even show up in the first place. So yeah, I got to go spend some time with him, and he couldn't be sweeter. Like he was we were talking about like the games coming up, and I can't even remember what we talked about. It was all kind of like,
it was a whirlwind.
Yeah,
because once things started happening, and it was
but I feel like the room had such an awesome energy to it. do you know what I mean? Like, and it was just like everybody was on like happy pills or something because the surprise worked. Nick Nurse was there. Like Matt Brookman had like 4 vodka sodas and was dancing till 2 a.m. Like it was crazy. Yeah, Greg was like, yeah, it was like I've never seen Matt dance before. And I was like, me neither. You know, and then Nick took off probably. He was there probably for a solid 45 to an hour.
Oh yeah, no, like once he was there, he like committed to a hang. Like honestly, like it's and the thing is, once you kind of are around for enough time in a hang, the magic in a good way kind of goes away, and you go, oh yeah, this is a dude hanging out shooting the shit, right? And it's not as sort of, but then sometimes you go, oh yeah, right, that's the coach of the Raptors, and he's going to go out and get in his big black car in a second, and it is weird but very cool, but then also very normal after a certain amount of time passes, right? We're just another dude at the party.
Yeah, the one thing that I said to him, I was like, honestly, I'm so blown away that everyone's here, and this is so nice that you came and that you guys all organized this. I was like, but honestly, like, if every day feels like my birthday because I get such a fun job and I get to work with such great people. He's like, me too. He was like, I don't have a real job either. He was like, yeah, this is like my job. It's not a real job. It's crazy. I was like, me too. So those
I picture like Owen Wilson and Zoolander and Ben Stiller talking.
Whoa, man.
Me too. Or Step Brothers. Yeah. Did we just become best friends? Yep. Want to go to the garage and do karate? Yep. And then there was a little photo at the end.
Yeah, there was a photo at the end, and
but like I feel like even half the people were still in the bar. We didn't even get everybody in the.
I know.
Photo.
I don't know
all
why.
Very discombobulated,
Yeah,
not
not
we were
everybody.
saying we're going photo, but it was loud and all that.
Yeah.
But then the photo made like bar down, and like different people posted it.
Yeah, it was a bit of a viral thing for a second there, and then Ash said, it's like, oh, you and Lauren are going to go to the game tomorrow, and Nick's arranged. Access to the shoot around. So before like the rest of the public gets in and the players are warming up on the court, you guys can go to that, and we got you tickets to it. So so my birthday party basically continued on to Sunday. It was amazing. It was funny though. The next day, by the way, so I was just like on cloud 9. You know, I made a big thing. It's like I don't need a birthday thing. Having a good birthday is fucking amazing.
Right? Spoiler, you do.
Yeah. And I was just like, I crashed on Ash's couch afterward, and we like, and I was just like, I can't believe all that happened. Just like totally blown away by it all. And I woke up in the morning, and I was still on cloud 9 that I wrote this like very long emotional post about my birthday.
Yeah.
And
is that the one that ended up on Instagram?
Yeah, the one that ended up on Instagram.
Yeah, it was nice.
I thought it was nice, and I thought it wasn't too over the top. But I was thinking what Shane would say to that post because it was a little like emo and humble braggy. And
you think I make fun of that stuff?
Well, yeah, maybe.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I was feeling so happy about it, and just like talking about the surprise and how like I wasn't expecting anything. It was a surprise, and then I was telling throughout the course of the day, I was telling people about the story, what had happened, and Lauren was with me, and Lauren's just like, Max, like, I'm very happy for you. This is awesome. It's like, but when you're telling the story, you're acting as if like a surprise party has never happened for anybody. Like this is like this novel experience. She's like, we all know what a surprise party is. It's like, so you bring someone whose birthday it is to somewhere that they're not expecting their friends to be there, and their friends go, surprise. And that's what happened to you. I'm like, I guess that is kind of normal, and to a certain degree. I guess the kicker is that Nick Nurse was there, but
and I think you were a lot of times those are bullshit, and you were genuinely surprised. Like a lot, like I thought at some point I was concerned that Dan was going to have to go. Here's the deal. This is why we need to leave now. And then you were going to have to act when you came in.
Sure.
But I could tell immediately that you were not acting.
No.
Even the way you were walking down the street, because we could see, I think the Uber might have let you out like a block
half a block
away from the bar. So we could see you through the window. And the way you were just kind of like bouncing down the street, like, of course you don't know a bunch of people are in the bar that are watching you walk down the street. I was just like, okay, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
But you may have, sort of sometimes has become a bit thematic on this podcast is big events happen, and then Shane feels like he hasn't been invited or he wasn't there. I want to clarify for our listeners, Shane was 100% invited to this one. And in fact, manager Ash and all of us went out of our way to be like, make sure Shane knows that if he wants to come back to Toronto, this is what's going down. Let him know.
This was your excuse, man.
Well, here's the thing. On weekends, I hate coming to Toronto.
Yeah,
I come to Toronto 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And I also don't see my family throughout the week.
Yeah.
So the weekend is
Precious
family
time.
time.
Yeah.
If it's a Grey Cup party, it's in Hamilton, I can go to that.
Yeah.
So and it's just nice to be invited, even if you can always decline.
Yeah.
So Mike called me because he had messaged me, "Are you seriously not coming tonight?" I said, no, I can't come tonight. Going to Toronto is always tough for me. But if for some magical reason you guys make it to Hamilton, let me know and I'll pop out, say happy birthday to Max. Phone calls me immediately. So I'm like, oh, Mike, anytime you call me, it's either really good or really bad.
That's the first thing he said. I called you on my way to Christmastown, actually.
But yeah, there was a weird pause, and I was like, this is bad. But then he said, no, like Nick Nurse, no one's supposed to know. Nick Nurse is going to be there tonight. I think you'd be kicking yourself if you didn't go and you didn't know that information, and you might,
smart,
get angry on the pod or something like that. So, so I was like, oh, this is very interesting information. Oh, this is good.
It's a game changer.
But then my other friend, Sean Dawson, who we talk about sometimes, I had told him I wasn't going, and then he backed out because he was originally going to go. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh my goodness, Sean's just not going because I'm not going. So now I have to tell him I am going. So I call Sean. I'm like, listen, I'm going now. You should go. He's like, no, I'm not feeling well.
Yeah, he said he was sick, yeah.
Said he was sick, but I'm like, anytime somebody's sick, they're not really sick. Something just came up. So I was like, okay, here's the deal. You can't tell anybody. But Nick Nurse is going to be there. So I tell him. And then he's like, oh, okay. I really am sick, by the way, but maybe I'll drive down. And he's like, I just won't drink. And I'm like, I know, it's hard, but then we're going to want to party. He's like, I know, we're going to want to party. He's like, I can't do it. He's like, future me is going to be very upset with myself if I go. And I was like, okay. I'm like, I'm still going to go, but I'm going to try to take it easy. And I told my wife that she was going to have to do the podcast that we do by herself. And she's like very, very sick. She's like, no, I'm not going to do it. I was like, honestly, we have to do this podcast every week. We got a commitment. Let's do it. And I know that's ironic because I'm bailing on the pod, but still, I was like, one person has to do it. And then I finally convinced her to do it, even though she's very sick. So I go upstairs, have a shower, I get ready, do my hair, everything. I'm about to call the Uber. But then I start feeling very guilty. Seeing her about to record this pod, she's a little nervous about it. Yeah. And I'm like, wait, why am I going here? I'm going to be hungover for editing her podcast. I have a Christmas party with or a Christmas get-together with my mom and family that I'm going to be not my personality. So I'm like, for that reason, I'm not going. And
very good of you.
Yeah.
That's very... people need to do that more often in the moment, to really kind of analyze their own feelings. And then if you're able to identify what the things that are triggering and you can kind of work around it, that's very smart.
Yeah. And then the next day I felt great. It was the next day felt even better because I woke up without a hangover and I knew it was for the right reasons. And that night, Alex completed this very hard part in the video game Toe Jam and Earl that we had been working on for literally 8 months, and it just all came together, and she beat it for me, which unlocks the special power hat, and it was just such a joyous moment. It sounds stupid, but it was such a great time for Alex and I that night.
No,
We're
all winners. Yeah.
You won the weekend, man.
But I did send you a happy birthday message.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
anyway,
magical time.
Great weekend.
Happy birthday. That's, for our listeners who follow all of our social media, that's the story behind how that night came together.
Did Nick reveal any secrets? Because obviously, this is heaven for you probably to be.
Yeah.
He couldn't tell you. Mike couldn't tell
you couldn't say.
Well, listen, if I'm shooting the shit with my buddy Nick in a bar and he's telling me certain things, I'm not going to get on a podcast and blather on about it.
Yeah.
Because the next game, the Raptors came out playing amazing.
They were awesome.
And there was a rumor that you had been in Nick's ear.
No, what happened was, so I was at the game with our friend Jug, Mike M, and after they came out, the Raptors had their biggest, they went into halftime 77-37 or something. It was a 40-point deficit. But anyway, I got a text from Sean Dawson. He goes, "What did you tell Nick Nurse last night?" And I go, "I just said if they're going to double Pascal with Rudy Gobert, that means Gasol's going to be open to the top. You got to move the rock, make the right basketball play." I, of course, did not say that to Nick Nurse. I just said what happened in the start of the game.
But do you give Nick any advice?
Oh God, no, not in a million years. I would never proceed. It's like any conversation with all of us, But I do think that guys like that, when they're shooting the shit in a setting like that, are more candid and hang and it's like. And
the other thing is that they. I mean, I guess it depends on the level of basketball conversation, but I think they also love to talk about basketball. Yeah. So it's if it's not Pascal's playing better this year. It's but if you can get into a little more of the nuanced stuff, more of the X's and O's, I'm sure he'd be let's fucking talk about this. It's I'm sure he's just thinking about it all day long.
Yeah. Just the dynamics of a basketball team and all of those things. And anyway. And I mean, we said this last time, he's a thoughtful guy anyway. So I think he thinks a lot about all of that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. And last thing on this, because how long have we been going here, Erica?
Oh, we are at 33 minutes.
Oh my God.
On our weekend.
Okay. Is that this is just an example of just what a thoughtful, nice guy he is? Is that I got a text from him maybe like half an hour after he had left, and it was just a screenshot of a Thelonious Monk record, and he said, "Hey, your wrestler buddy suggested that I downloaded it. I'm listening to it right now." So I was like, "That is such a sweet," you know what I mean? Like, he didn't need to do that. He didn't, but he not only is he downloading the record that that book club Maddie suggested, but he like thought enough to send a screenshot, send it to me, and say, "Hey, I'm checking this out right now." You know what I mean? Like, it just kind of speaks to what he's like as a guy. So.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
We have to say, huge shout out to manager Ash, as we always do, because it doesn't happen without her. And Dan Hamilton, he was in on that, making things happen, and also he was the delivery man. Mm-hmm. You were the prize. He had to deliver you, and he made it happen after a little bit of Coldplay dancing, apparently.
Yeah.
This episode of the Mike on Much podcast is supported by Jameson, where good things come in threes. Let me take a moment to talk about the remarkably smooth and unmistakable taste of Jameson. Sometimes, after recording an episode of Mike on Much, I like to go home and unwind with a glass of Jameson. Hell, sometimes in the middle of recording a podcast, me, Shane, and Max will open a bottle of JMO and enjoy a glass or two, because conversations are always a little better with Jameson, ginger, and lime, or a whiskey on the rocks. Over 200 years of courage, craft, and a collective appreciation for taste in one drink. Jameson, please drink responsibly. So should we move on to topics?
Yeah.
Okay, before we move on to topics, I just want to remind everybody to check out The Pedestal, the podcast that Shane and I do with Jonathan Popoulos. I believe there's a new episode out right now with Cynthia Loist of The Social on CTV. We do The Breakfast Club, so way back, playback, and we have a bunch of cool episodes coming out over the coming weeks. Topics. So, what do we want to hit first here? There's that story in the Hollywood Reporter about Olivia Wilde. Should we go there?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so Olivia Wilde, actor and director.
Oh, was that the one we were doing? I thought we were doing the one with Olivia, Lori Laughlin's kid, who came back to YouTube. Or did I put that in the group?
Olivia J.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it, all of them.
No.
I don't think.
Oh, in my mind, I thought I put it in the group.
What'd she do?
She's back on YouTube after the college.
Okay, we have two completely different stories about a person named Olivia.
Yeah.
So Olivia Wilde's in the new Clint Eastwood film about Richard Jewell and the bombing of the Olympics, and basically her portrayal of a journalist. That was the story.
Yeah, okay, sorry, I got
No, but I'm actually more interested in doing this other story.
Well, you
so
have
break
to
it
watch
down for us.
Well, basically, she's been off YouTube for 9 months because she was a YouTube star, and then she got caught in this scandal for getting into college, and now she had her first return back to YouTube, and she has it was like a 2-minute video. It was fucking brutal. It was just basically her being like, "Hi, I've missed you guys." Cut. It's been a really hard time. Cut. I want to talk about it. Cut. But I just can't talk about it because for legal reasons. Cut. But I know I've been getting your DMs and I just miss this so much. Cut. It's like the YouTube
Jump cuts. Yeah.
The jump cuts. And there's some candles burning in the background. She looks a little more understated than she normally does. And it's 2 minutes, and her voice kind of starts breaking up in the back half as if she's about to start crying. And I just thought it was funny because I was like, I don't know how much to believe. You're
not buying it.
No, not quite. But did you see it?
No.
Oh, you didn't see it? Okay. But anyway, that's. But if we had seen it, we could talk about this apology and whether you think
whether we believe it's just performative and real or.
Yeah, do you think she has any actual remorse for any of that? Or her sort of public behavior?
Well, I don't think she even wanted to go to college. She was pretty open about not liking school.
Yeah.
Beforehand.
So do you think she's just pissed off at her mom a lot now, though? Do you think that's the biggest thing?
Whenever I think about these things, I think about the consequences. So what are the real consequences for her? To Shane's point, it seemed like she never wanted to go to school in the first place. So it's is she embarrassed? I guess that's a consequence. But I don't even know if she's truly embarrassed. Do you think when she's hanging out with her friends or going to parties, anybody's shunning her because of this? These seem to be more general outrage. But I think for those people who are very wealthy and privileged, they probably think it's hilarious. And it's a level of infamy that makes her actually cooler to her social circle. I don't think you have any real consequences in your life. Even if you get kicked out of school, you're still going to be very rich. You're still going to have opportunities.
Do you think the public shame, though, is the biggest consequence you could ever have?
I think she's probably super ashamed and embarrassed to walk around. And the people who don't know her very well are just whispering behind her back. I think that's annoying.
Yeah, I guess. I just think your day to day. I don't think your life changes that much, but maybe I'm wrong. I've never been on the other end of social media hate. So maybe when an avalanche of hundreds of thousands of people are saying you suck, fuck you, you're a piece of shit.
Well, she just looks like such a loser and a dummy for not being able to get into that school, and for such an egregious lie that she was some gymnast superstar who never even did gymnastics. Because the whole idea was she got a scholarship, right?
Is that what her situation
No,
was?
she was a rower.
A fake rower.
And she never rowed.
Yeah.
But I always wonder whenever that happens, though. Like, I bet you she would, in her heart of hearts, still think she's a winner compared to the trolls on the internet. Mm-hmm. So when it's like, is she really embarrassed, or is she like, actually, I still live in Malibu. My life is fucking awesome. Like, if anything, this just made me stand out above all the other influencers. Like, now I have this kind of weird, fake white collar crime back. Like,
but people like that can still be embarrassed. Just because you have a lot of money and your life is good doesn't mean you're impervious to shame and things like that.
Agreed, but I guess I haven't seen the video, but it would seem like Max doesn't believe that it's a put on for her, that it's just part of the brand.
I don't know. I can't tell. That's what I was going to ask. I feel like it could be a put on. But the one interesting thing about people that live in rarefied air in the way that she does is it's hard to get called out on what a sort of ridiculous influencer lifestyle they have, and just the things they promote, and just how unattached they are to the rest of the world. But this whole incident was a thing that where she was probably forced to reckon with the fact that she lives in this ridiculous opulent life in a way that I don't think would have ever cut through to her if this hadn't happened. So it was actually kind of an interesting example of someone who lives in that world actually having to reckon with their lifestyle in a larger way. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Because it's so embarrassing that she got into university the way she did.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm trying to think. It's would these people ever be called out in any other way that they'd actually listen to? Probably not. But this time she was.
Yeah. No, Shane makes a good point. Just because she'll be fine ostensibly, and I don't think their family fortune's going away anytime soon, it would seem, and she'll still have opportunities because she's connected to the most elite network sort of in that town. Doesn't mean that she didn't feel embarrassed and had depression and anxiety because of what happened. But it's just I don't know. I feel like I've seen many times where people will sort of they're very they show contrition, but then it's they're right back to their life, which is it's a fucking awesome life either way.
Of course, but that type of attitude is less to do with their financial standing and more to just do with who they are. People always someone who's very poor can fake they feel bad for something they did, but they're really not. That's
what I'm saying. So how do we suss that out? How do we actually judge people's moral character? How do we know? It's the whole part of this, or the whole heart of this conversation is if Max believes she actually has contrition. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen the clip, so I don't know.
It's hard though too because we don't know her. But there's such a bad stink on somebody who's comes from a very well-off place. It's almost like that spoiled brat. Mm-hmm. That's just the place we're coming from.
Well, and she's willing to take get into Stanford and knowingly be part of this scam.
But if we saw a documentary on her, we might have more sympathy because maybe her mom was very manipulative or something like that.
We might, yeah. Yeah.
I find every time I've seen a doc about a particular subject, I come to realize their way of thinking or how they got in a certain situation much better and feel bad for them. I just saw Honey Boy, by the way, which is not similar at all to this, but very different.
What is that?
It's about Shia LaBeouf and how, some people might think he was this, a lot. Before I saw the movie, I almost thought he came from a rich hippie family. Where they just let him do whatever he want. He was a spoiled child actor with stage parents. But it was the exact opposite of that. It was such an amazing movie and gave such good insight into his life, and it was acted so perfectly. It really made me think about prejudging somebody in their lifestyle, or how when Shia was acting out, and there's videos of Shia being insanely rude and racist to a police officer, which typically you'd be like, why isn't he part of the cancel culture?
Yeah.
Because this video that went out is him being super racist to a black police officer. For some reason it didn't catch him. Anyway, it seems like he's been reformed to some extent, but it's just the it feels like a documentary. The movie is very about the cyclical nature of how you're raised and how you can kind of become your parents, and it just, when does it end?
Yeah, no, and for sure, even rich people have problems. Obviously, it just feels like her particular, we know that her mom was a celebrity actress. Her dad was a very rich guy. she clearly like has good genes and likes the look of her own face because like YouTubers like love looking at themselves in the screen, you know, and so it's like, yeah, when it comes to her particular problems, it's like they wouldn't seem to compare like on a scale with someone who grew up in like something a little more fucked up. But maybe, as you say, maybe it's more fucked up than we understand.
I think too the issue that people have when it comes to like cancel culture or whatever, it's like if somebody like Shia LaBeouf says something like that that's racist, it's not that he's not worthy of like sympathy or redemption. It's that there are only so many slots when major companies cast roles, or if you're her and you're an influencer, and it's like, well, there's only so many people that, you know, it's like she takes up a slot, but she's maybe morally suspect, or he's done something bad. What makes people upset is it's like there's probably like 150 people that are just as talented as Shia LaBeouf that could do what Shia LaBeouf does, in theory. So it's like, why is he getting a slot if it turns out he's actually a piece of shit and would say a racist thing to an officer? Again, it's not necessarily about that he doesn't deserve redemption and that he's not maybe a good guy that's had issues, but it's like maybe we move on from these people when they've sort of proven to be like not very kind at times, is the thinking about it. So this girl's going to now come back and take like a slot that essentially could be for another influencer who maybe is of better moral character, or at least hasn't proven themselves to be shady, or like someone that would take advantage of an open slot at Stanford and lie about being a rower because they're like, well, fuck it, that's just what I'm going to get. But maybe she's worthy of sympathy, and ultimately, we don't decide this. The masses do. So if 500,000 people want to watch her on YouTube, well, then majority rules. And that's why that's a direct-to-consumer sort of thing. And then advertisers can choose to, like, pair with her. But I think that's what people are saying. It's not like you're the worst. It's just like, why are you a part of our lives still if we don't think that you're a great person? I guess. You can vote with your money, though, right? Like, it's like, we'll see if Shia LaBeouf's movie makes money. We'll see if people nominate for an Oscar, you know, if it's a certain quality or caliber.
The quality is insane. Like, it's one of the best acting.
He wrote and directed it?
No, he didn't direct it, but he wrote it and
plays his father, right?
Plays his father.
Yeah. Apparently, it's amazing.
Oh, so it's not a documentary? It's like a movie.
It feels like I slipped up and said it was a documentary because it's so real. It almost does feel like that.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
But his
where do you watch it?
What's that?
Where is it? Where
It's
can you watch
at
it?
It's at
right now.
Scotiabank.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah, but anyway, it's very interesting to see how people respond to this girl when she comes back. But again, it's like, I don't even know for the audience. Like, Erica, you're younger than us. Do you watch a lot of YouTubers?
Not a lot, but I love like the YouTuber drama. My little sister's 15, and she is like about it. Like, she doesn't watch TV. She doesn't watch TV shows. None of her friends watch TV shows. They all watch these YouTubers, and this is like their world of like gossip. Like, it's not like actors and actresses gossip who's dating who that they care about. It's who these like YouTubers are. And,
It's
like,
their stars.
Yeah.
This is what their generation finds. So do you think that Olivia Jade, is that?
Yeah.
Jade, like, will she easily just slide back in? Like,
Do we need to call your sister?
should we call her?
Max, for the third episode in a row, wants to do a call-in.
I don't know. She's in grade 10 right now.
Is she in school?
Yeah,
is
she
it
might
lunch?
be on
Is it
lunch.
lunch break?
Yeah, should we call her?
Yeah, let's call her.
Okay. It might be lunch, actually. It's 1 o'clock.
This is me hilarious
See.
if she actually picks up.
She would have some opinion on this drama, I know, for sure.
Maybe what we can do is you can call her later and you can interview her and insert it. Yeah. What's her name?
Hey there.
What?
Sarah.
Yeah.
Sarah.
I like it.
All right.
Sarah's Corner.
We
or
might have
something.
to, maybe we'll bring Sarah back to speak to Olivia Jade, and if she's ready to forgive
We'll see.
and accepts
Yeah.
that apology.
Okay, let's do this commercial thing.
Oh, the Peloton?
Yeah.
So there's this ad that just came out for the Peloton. It's like an exercise bike that's got a TV screen that gives you access to different workouts and stuff like that. But this ad has gone viral that came out in the last couple of days where this husband gives his wife a Peloton for like Christmas or whatever, and she's like, oh my God. And then over the course of the rest of the commercial, it's her like waking up at 6 a.m. It's her like really going hard on the Peloton.
The Peloton is a bike that connects to other riders, and there's a screen, or there's some coach working you through the workout.
Yeah, all that's on
Yeah,
the
okay.
screen.
They try to make it like an at-home spin class. You know all these like spin clubs that
Yeah,
are very
Spin Co,
trendy and
yeah.
boutique in Toronto right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
They try to make it so that you can do that at home and have
okay.
the same experience, I think.
So then the spot ends a year later, the next Christmas, and she's put together all of her little like workout videos, and I guess that's her present back to the husband. But it's like, if I had known a year ago what I know now, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But so this spot's gone viral just because a lot of people think it's hilarious. Like, one, like like I guess the implications of giving this woman who ostensibly is already she looks fine, but it's like, here's an exercise bike. Like a coworker today, Shane and I were talking about this work with other people. Obviously, we work in advertising, and it's almost like the husband's like, you're at 118, let's get it down to 114, and that's why you give her the Peloton. Like it's, and then at the end, like people have, this has struck a chord with people for a lot of reasons. There's been a lot of parodies on the internet. This one performer on Twitter, Eva Victor, like she's already got like 2.5 million views on her imitation of this Peloton and wanted to divorce her husband for giving her this as a gift. So first, let's talk about the ad. What did you guys think of the ad?
Yeah, that was so over the top. And
It's whack.
Yeah, very goofy. What do you think, Shane?
Well, I just, like Mike was saying, it's very odd that it's such a beautiful, hot woman to already be gifted this. And I was likening it to the Bruno Mars video where it's like, you're perfect just the way you are.
Yeah.
That song means nothing if you're an 11 out of 10. Don't change anything, babe. You're perfect. It should just be like a 6 out of 10 and Bruno singing to her like, I think you're beautiful no matter what. Whereas if you're an 11, it's don't change anything. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Because that woman's like probably 25 in that video. So she's like, okay, I have to stay like this forever. Whereas it's like, maybe the song should be like, oh, like, if you're planning on casting a very beautiful woman, then the lyrics should be like, it doesn't matter if you let yourself go, I'll love you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, watch that video. It's such a bullshit video.
The Bruno Mars video?
It's the worst. I hate it.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Have you seen this video?
A while ago.
Yeah,
This
are they
song's been
kind
out
of
for a
like
while.
walking around a house? It's like morning time.
Yeah,
it's
she's
like
in
on
like
the
a
piano.
Yeah, the piano. She's in like one of his shirts or something. Am
Yeah,
I
she's
wrong? I
just
don't know.
too beautiful
Yeah.
and like cutesy and just loving herself. Like
There's
annoying.
like the whole bike sensation has really blown my mind because I feel like there are these things that pop up in the culture that are like upper class, elite class, like signifiers where and I feel like 5-7 years ago it was yoga where like every like hot girl in Burlington was like really just posting about how many yoga classes they're going to, and that has since shifted into the spinco culture.
Yeah.
And it's and the reason why I was thinking about it recently is that there's one opening in Hamilton, downtown Hamilton, at James and Cannon, and Spinco, and what are the other ones called?
There's Soul Cycle.
Soul Cycle. There's all these ones
Yeah.
where it's like my Instagram's like just like filled with people just posting from there, and they all wear like the Spinco sports bras, and they do these we're going for a ride together. I'm like, you're going for a ride, like outdoor riding? They're like, no, we're riding together in someone's living room. Everyone's bringing their bikes, and we're setting up in someone's living room, and I'm like, and it feels kind of culty. And it's very expensive too. It's like the classes are like $25 a class or $30 a class. And it was funny because
You're making the case for the Peloton right now, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably
Because if you're into it, you can do this at home.
you can do it anytime you want. But like, I just got a membership to the downtown Hamilton YMCA, and it's like $50 a month or something like that. And there's also a spin class. When I went there the other day, there was like a spin class, but it was like just normal Hamilton people just like riding on the bikes, but there's someone at the front being like yelling at them. Like, and I'm like, what's the difference between this and what's happening at a Spinco?
So I've been to one.
Okay, tell us about it.
I've been to like a
Gosh,
couple.
I'm so fascinated by it. Is it a hot girl signifier, basically?
I think so.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
It, like rich girl too.
Rich,
I've
yeah.
only ever been, a lot of them, it's like if your first class is free. So I've been to many places, but only once. And it's like a club in there. The music is so fucking loud. Like the bikes are like 3 inches away from each other. And there's strobe lights, there's disco balls in some of these places. The instructor is like a hype woman DJ, or man, and yeah, it's very culty and it's very weird and it's definitely not for me. But I think girls like it because like having a nice butt is very in trend right now.
Okay.
Perhaps it always has been, but like biking gives you a nice butt.
Oh, interesting.
And so I think people want a nice butt.
But it is funny that you say that because I've found in my life the nicest people I've ever met have been the most privileged. So anytime people are like hating on people who are very up there, I'm like, geez, well, my wife is one of the most privileged people I've ever met.
Yeah.
She's like, just to look at her, she looks like a blonde, dumb, rich bimbo. But she's the exact opposite of that.
Your wife might be more of an exception to the rule.
And
but,
you get everything just handed to you. Mind you, you work for it and you are this celebrity. But I mean, you're so nice and caring and giving. And it's just people might think like, oh, Max is so spoiled. And for that, you're a bit of a brat. But you're not. You know what I mean?
I think the thing is,
I guess Max worked for it,
Well,
but
oh,
my
yeah, yeah.
wife did not.
right.
I mean,
I came from middle class too, so I'm okay. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that the argument there is always like we've talked about this, like where it's like, you know, if you have no reason to think that the world is inherently sometimes cruel and unfair, why would you be bummed out? Like it's like it is easier to be nice if things always work out for you because you're not troubled. Like you're never worried that like you're gonna lose the job. You're never worried that the floor is gonna fall out from underneath you.
Yeah.
So you have like sort of this charmed air naturally. Whereas if like you've experienced some trauma or like you know you've had some hardship, it's like it just hardens you a bit, and so you do become a bit more like protective or bitter, and it's almost more commendable when people that have had a rough go are kind because it's like
Yep.
they're overcoming the cruelty of the world. So I like when people have like had it really good and then they're really nice. That doesn't surprise me very much.
Yeah, I think the other thing that kind of gets to with this class, and something that I think
that's why I'm just saying people hate on those people.
Yeah.
Too much. I
think-
find that's
yeah.
it.
Yeah,
You know, I think that the other reason why it's on my mind is that I always think about like the segregation of culture and these different things that happen that sort of separate the haves and the have-nots, in which why I love the Downtown Hamilton YMCA, because it's just like every possible kind of person is there. It's like there's rich lawyers that are there are new Canadians that are there are literally like homeless men who stay at the Hamilton YMCA.
It's like the subway in New York.
It's fucking wild and awesome, and I love it. And I just think that like they're like, and the thing which is beautiful about the Hamilton YMCA and every YMCA for that matter, it's kind of pay what you can. It's like literally if you like the rate is $50 to $60 a month or whatever it is, but if you can't afford it, there's signs saying if you can't afford it, just come talk to us and we'll figure it out. And like if Spinco did that'd be very cool, but it just seems like it attracts people that can only pay for it. And just when there are these sort of like imaginary walls that are put up in the culture, that is when I feel like we could, obviously those things are always going to exist to a certain degree, but the less of those things I think the better, because I think everybody ends up having more empathy for each other if you're surrounded by people that aren't exactly like you.
What about the implications of a husband giving his wife exercise equipment as a Christmas gift?
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think
Maybe it was on her list.
Yeah, because he did in the commercial. He plays it up as such a surprise. He's literally covering her eyes with his hands, and then she's like, "Oh my God, what's it called? Peloton." So it was like she would have to have known that brand, because otherwise you would just say a workout bicycle.
Yeah.
So I think she knew the brand. She asked for it.
It was on her list.
And Peloton, I think, is like a renowned brand for this kind of thing that people are like, oh, and it's probably an expensive bike too. So it's like to get that as a Christmas gift, if you're like a woman who's in shape, you're like, oh, fuck, this is awesome. Like you actually spent like $1,000 on this thing, and thank you very much.
The weird part of the commercial too is why are they watching on a big screen her Instagram stories?
Yeah, she put on the TV.
At the very end. Yeah, they're just watching what she's posted for the last year.
I
It's
felt
very
like that
odd.
was her present back to him.
You think?
Because it was almost like he was watching it, like she's like, honey, I want watch this.
You know, someone's like a year of like Winnie or a year of Lou. It's like, but that kind of thing.
This
It's like,
is
I made
what
a little
you're-
video of like what happened in the last year.
Yes, this is what your gift did for me, and thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm showing it to
But
you.
he wasn't in the video at all.
No, he was not.
Yeah. And I wonder too, because although she physically looks good, maybe her innards are really messed up. Like we have a friend, Mark Myers. We always talk about how attractive he is, hot, but he eats terribly. So Mark's big concern is that inside it's just a nightmare. So he tries to get active because his outer doesn't necessarily reflect his inner.
Interesting.
So that could be like maybe she had a doctor's appointment. The doctor's like, "Listen, you're very hot, but inside
Seems inappropriate, Doc. But go
Are you
on.
a real doctor?" This is LA. This is how we talk. And we're doctors out here. But he's like, "You need a Peloton."
Yeah,
He's
maybe
like, and then
he
she
died.
asked the husband, and then
He's
it's
prescribed her a Peloton.
yeah.
All right, let's get to
Shane's surprise.
Shane's surprise.
Okay, do you guys know who Mark McGrath is?
Of course, Sugar Ray singer.
Specifically, Erica.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Okay, do you know who Sugar Ray is?
Singers. Max just gave it. What song do they sing?
I just wanna fly.
Yeah. No, that song.
Every morning there's a halo hanging from the corner.
Yeah, I know those
Okay,
two.
so years ago, the lead singer Mark McGrath, he kind of went viral in a video because as he was walking out of a club, someone yelled, "Sugar gay," and he goes, "Who said that? Who fucking said that?" And then he berates this kid who's like, "I didn't even say it." He's like, I'll fucking ruin you. And he starts talking about how he's gonna like butt fuck the guy. It's a very weird video. He gets called gay, and then he says what he's gonna do to this guy. Anyway, that was Mark McGrath's last viral video. Until recently, he went viral again for. I
saw this.
Are you familiar with Cameo?
Oh, that video where you can ask a celebrity.
You can pay a celebrity.
Oh, I've seen his, I think.
Somebody pitched me to do that, actually. He was like, I work for Cameo.
Well, I'm getting to that.
Okay, cool.
So on Cameo, you can pay Mark McGrath $100, and he will say anything you want him to. Typically, it's a birthday, anniversary greeting, whatever. But someone paid Mark McGrath $100 to break up with their significant other.
Yeah.
So it's a
video.
woman.
It's a wild, yeah.
And then Mark McGrath is like, hey, dude, I know this isn't the best news in the world, but you never know what's going to happen in the future. This is a long-distance relationship, and I know you're doing an exam right now. Not exactly the best time to be breaking up,
He's
Gloria.
working on his dissertation or whatever.
Oh, my God.
But it's this like 2.5-minute off-the-cuff, very kind breakup.
Oh, so he did it nice.
Over the course of it, you can tell McGrath actually starts to really sympathize with the guy getting dumped. He's like, this isn't the right time, but man, you're going to bounce back.
But it's just funny because if you watch the Sugar Gay video, you're like, this is the biggest douche in the world. And then you see him years later, his looks have faded a little bit, and he's totally this like total empath and like really endears himself to the kind of the public in this viral way. So I was just thinking, would you ever do Cameo? And would you ever do a video like this? And what would be your limits?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd do Cameo because it feels like it's one of those things you do when you're a little over the hill. So maybe talk to me in a few years and see how things are going.
Right.
Washed up a
Hold
bit.
off on that for now.
Yeah, it seems like something for the Mark McGraths of the world. But every once in a while, the band does shoutouts to people for special occasions. So yes, I'm familiar with that. In terms of the question, would I break up with somebody?
If somebody asked you, hey, could you break up with my significant other, would there be any moral implications where you're like, actually, that's crossing the line? Or would you be like, I'm actually the perfect guy to hear this from?
Yeah, I don't think I could do that.
What if they were like,
$20,000.
he's the biggest Dark Hells fan.
And he wants me to break up.
And it would be like the least harsh coming from you
Yeah,
because he loves you.
Yeah, so there's a girl breaking up with a dude, and this dude is an Arkell super fan. So it might soften the blow if it comes from Max Kerman.
Yeah, I don't think it would soften the blow, though. And also, it would like implicate Arkell's with a negative memory in this guy's
That's
mind.
right. Now he's going to have to, you're not going to be the favorite band
Yeah,
anymore.
he's not going to be buying
You're
tickets
tied to the
anymore.
breakup.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, it's like a trepidatious doctor. He's giving you $20,000 to break a cancer diagnosis to a patient.
No, I couldn't do that either. I'm trying to think where I could be helpful, though. This is a good question. Like, is there any other sort of situation? I can deliver good news. I'm into that.
So that would be
it's like Daddy's
yeah.
coming home from war. You're going to see him, and I could do that. What would be the hardest one that I could do, though?
You got fired?
Oh, yeah. I don't think I could do that either.
Only positive news. That's what you're saying if you had to do these things.
Yeah. I do like pump up ones. You know, it's like somebody was like sick. I'd be like, I could try to cheer him up a bit. I'd be good at
Pep
that.
rally stuff.
Yeah,
You're going to get through this.
Yeah. But why? Well, I guess the question back at you, Shane. Would you want some celebrity to break news to you that wasn't so good? And who would that celebrity be?
Well, after watching the Mark McGrath one, you honestly want him to break every piece of news to you. It's so good the way he does it. But I would really like to hear from Owen Wilson. That would be cool.
Well, like, let's say Alex was breaking up with you.
Owen Wilson would be amazing to do that. I think he would do that so
okay,
well.
Alex, if you're listening, we'll work it out with Owen if the time ever comes.
And I had a secondary question. Do you think I could do a Cameo?
Oh.
If I just charged $1.
Yeah.
Do you think anyone would do it?
Yeah, you'd be good.
100%.
Shaniacs probably would pay for stuff like that. And your editor notes are always great that you send me. And it's just you talking to your phone. So
I have a talent for it.
yeah, I think you'd be good at
Oh, is
it.
that the way you give notes to Eric?
No, like when they have to be in the episode. Editors know.
Okay. Oh,
Might
sure.
cut out. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe
Let's
put
do it.
that
Let's
out
set you
there.
up. Is there some sort of like qualifier? Do you need to be like a blue check mark or something like that?
Maybe, but maybe you can vouch for me.
Yeah.
And all the money will go to charity.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Nice. I like this. All right, Shaniacs out there, if you're listening, go over to Cameo.
At $1, we're going to set it at $1.
$1, yeah.
So if you pay Shane Cunningham $1, we'll figure out a delivery method. That $1 will go to charity.
Yeah. Which charity?
I don't know. You were good at you. Max will decide the charity.
Okay.
And Shane will give news to whoever you need that
If
news to be
Cameo
given
will
to.
let me do it, and if they won't, you just transfer me the buck.
Yeah.
And then
You know, it costs $1 to do a transfer.
And they minimum $10.
minimum
right.
$10.
Right.
That's a lot of asks.
All right, $10 a Cameo. If Cameo won't let me on, if Cameo will let me on, then $1.
Great.
Anyways.
Love it.